It's Rachel from rachel-bailey.com, and I'm going to talk to you about some quick tools to help you move from that I'm not doing this parenting thing the right way to I've got this. And I want to remind you that you don't have to be perfect to raise great kids. In fact, I think the opposite is true. I think you have to be imperfect and trust and respect yourself anyway. So the tool I'm going to discuss today is called tuning in instead of turning out. Because when something happens around us, we can either tune in and really pay attention to what we need and our instinct, or we can turn out and worry about what's going on around us and things that we can't control. The truth is that most of us do the second. We turn out. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about each one, and I'm going to start with turning out. Because turning out really is focusing on things that we can't control. For example, we may focus on what other people will think. So if our child is rude, we may wonder what other people are going to think of us as a parent. We also worry about something else that's not in our control, which is preventing something bad from happening in the future. And a lot of us parent based on trying to prevent something bad from happening. We try to stop behavior now so that bad things don't happen. We may worry that if we don't get our child to do their homework, they're going to end up jobless and on our couch when they're 35 years old. The third thing that we often focus on that's out of our control is trying to change other people's behavior. And we do this a lot with our kids. We try to focus on changing their behavior. And we can try so many different things, but in reality, we cannot control that. We can influence that, and we're much more likely to be able to do it when we tune in. So let's talk a little bit more about tuning in. Tuning in is raising our kids by tuning into ourselves and our instinct and focusing only on the things that we can control. So instead of trying to control our kids' behavior, we can model through our own behavior the values that we're trying to instill. Because even though we can't control their behavior, we can certainly control ours. The other thing we can do is instead of focusing on the future, we can focus on what we need in the moment, rather than depending on others to give it to us. So often we feel really out of control with our kids, and we expect them to change their behavior so that we feel more in control. Instead, tuning in means focusing on what we can do for ourselves so that we don't need them to stop so that we feel better. And the last thing that we do when we're tuning in is we give our children what they need in the moment. And I promise you that you don't have to be psychic to be able to figure out what it is that your children need. So let's consider a practical scenario and what turning out versus tuning in would look like. Let's say you get a call from your teacher's principal because your child was mean to a teacher. So if we turn out, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on all of those things that are not in our control. We may worry about other people, like what the teacher is going to think of our child and whether that teacher is going to be mean to our child or upset with our child. We may think about the future and be concerned that if our child was mean to a teacher, then he's never going to learn respect for authority. We may focus on controlling his behavior and how we can punish him so that he never speaks disrespectfully to an authority figure again. But the truth is, all of this is out of our control. What the teacher thinks, what's going to happen in the future, and his behavior, all of those things are out of our control. So instead of feeling good about ourselves and confident, we're embarrassed, afraid, and unsure of how to handle the situation, which is the opposite of respecting and trusting ourselves. And it's a recipe for helplessness and losing our own control. So instead, we could tune in and focus on what we can control, which is modeling the behavior we want to see. So if we want our child to be respectful to a teacher, we have to model respect in the way that we talk to our child. Because after all, we're asking our child to be respectful to a teacher even when he's upset. But how can we ask him to do this if we can't demonstrate it? The other thing we can do is think about what we need in the moment, not depending on our child to do something different to make us feel better. So obviously we're going to be worried about making sure things are okay in the future, but we can't control that. So we can give ourselves all of the proof that our child is not going to be disrespectful for the rest of his life. We can think about all of the cooperative and thoughtful things that he has done. And remember that this is potentially an isolated incident and something we can use to teach him how to do something different in the future. And lastly, we can think about what our child needs in the moment. And is punishment really going to motivate something different in the future? And I'll give you a hint that it probably won't. What our child needs instead is for someone to see the world through his eyes. to teach him how to be in that place where he was and how to do something different. So he may need tools for handling his own frustration so that he doesn't act out with disrespect. But punishment doesn't actually give him those tools. Our understanding and our teaching do give him those tools. Ironically, it's when we let go of trying to control the things around us that we're more confident and that our children do make healthier choices, not because we force them to, but because they choose to and because they have the tools to know how to make different choices. And then you're arming them for life. So watch for my other videos where I'll continue to go a little deeper into these issues. And if you need anything in the meantime, feel free to contact me at rachel@rachel-bailey.com. And until then, I'll see you next time.